Hello everyone. Uh, Open heart, open mind. Welcome to the Sattva channel, an online official platform of Sattva project. So myself Samiksha, and I'm from Sattva Youth. And Sattva Youth is also a program initiated by the Sattva project. So today, before we begin the program, as usual, I would like to thank Brother Chong for managing all the technical things behind the scene. So Brother Chong, would you please come? Would you like to come on the screen to say hi to the audience?
Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in to our Dharma lecture series today. And for those of you who are watching, please do like and share so that more people can benefit from our session today. And those on on YouTube, you can also subscribe. Thank you. And now back to you, Samisha.
Thank you, Brother Chong. So today we are going to embark a new series, which would be a short talk plus meditation. Mm, Yes. So the series is entitled "The Power of Great Compassion." So first of all, we'll have a short talk, and then we will be guided through meditation. So today's talk and meditation will be guided by Dagpo Shaddrung Rinpoche. So before we start the program, let me introduce you to our today's speaker, who is Dagpo Shaddrung Rinpoche. He's a Buddhist monk. His Holiness His Eminence Dagpo Shaddrung Rinpoche was born in 1988 in Sikkim in northeast India. He was formally enthroned as the reincarnation of Shabdung Kalsang Gelsen by His Holiness the 41st Kongma Trinchen Rinpoche. In 2002, he received the vows of a novice monk from His Holiness Chogyet Trinchen at Jamchen Temple, and in 2012, Rinpoche received the vows of a fully ordained monk from His Eminence Luding Khenchen Rinpoche. In 2013, Rinpoche graduated with the degree of Khatsupa and Lopon. During his 10 years of study at Sakya College, he mastered the full range of traditional subjects including Prajnaparamita, Madhyamika, Pramana, Vinaya, Abhidharma, and the Triple Vow. In November 2019, he was enthroned as a Khenpo abbot of Sakya College. Rinpoche now teaches widely at Sakya centers in India and abroad, where his teachings are much appreciated for their clarity and openness. Thank you so much for joining us today, Rinpoche. We are looking forward for the talk and the guided meditation. Oh, you're muted, Rinpoche.
Thank you very much, Samiksha.
Yes. So now I hand over the floor to you.
Okay. So, uh, uh, first of all, I would like to say thank you to Sattva Project for having me on this platform, so I can, keep in touch with a lot of people out there and have some, connection, develop some connection with all of the listeners and who wants to learn Buddhism and so on. And I hope that all of you are having a wonderful time. And so today, the subject of today's talk is power of great compassion. So first of all, I want to say that this topic, the compassion, right? It's something that is very much related, personally related to me. That's my feeling, because in my life, most helpful practice to keep me going about this competitive and very turbulent life has always been the practice of compassion. Mm, um, and compassion, the practice of compassion has helped me uh, with a lot of helped me with to face a lot of difficulties that I face in my life, right? So yeah, I'm very glad they have allowed me to speak about compassion. So that's why I'm very thankful. And when we talk about compassion, compassion is is very very needed in this time, I guess. Really, is because um, in terms of technology, the it seems that we're the this planet, this world is um, developing, right? But when it comes to human core happiness, the human core um, mentality, it seems that people are struggling more than ever. Especially in terms of you know emotion. People are suffering from loneliness and stress. They basically all the mental insecurities. And for these problems, for these issue, the compassion is far more the best and most powerful tool, I would say, or practice, to deal with these mental insecurities. Uh, and so, in order to understand compassion, um, first we need to understand that uh, that the reason why we are, the reason why there are so many insecurities, you know, what is the reason that we suffer from, loneliness? Why we really has this, stress, mental stress? Why there's so much mental insecurities that uh, happening in our life? Yeah. So basically, why do we suffer so much in life? The fundamental answer is always, the lack of understanding of the reality or the condition. We do not understand the situation. We do not trying to understand the situation of other and also of this reality. That's why the lack of understanding is the main cause of our all mental insecurities. I'm not talking about wisdom. I'm talking about just the understanding. Not yeah. So when it comes to compassion, it is very important that what is compassion? Compassion is not just a feeling. It's not just a emotion, or it's not just a understanding. It is understanding. It is the combination of understanding. It is a combination of thinking. It is a combination of feeling and emotion. This is very important that we should understand, right? Mm. But the thing is that in this modern day, when we talk about compassion, right? Or can you teach us about compassion? Yeah, of course we can talk and we can discuss about the compassion. But in our traditional teaching, in our traditional context, when whenever we talk about compassion, right, we really don't talk about compassion alone. For example, when we talk about compassion, basically, you know, in traditional context, right, in traditional teaching, when we talk about compassion, most likely you were talking about for immeasurable practice. That's where they talk compassion, right? That's where they talk about loving kindness, compassion, and what Kitanyum, tranquility, right? So when we talk about for immeasurable, we talk about compassion. Usually, really, it's quite rare to see that, where it only talks about compassion alone. And especially when it comes to Mahayana teaching, when we talk about compassion, we talk about compassion because to generate bodhicitta. That's where the compassion comes, and that's where we talk and learn about compassion, and that's why we practice compassion so we can generate the mind, the bodhicitta, the mind of bodhisattva, right? So, but it's a modern time, of course, we can talk about compassion alone. The reason why I'm saying this is because, I'm just trying to let you guys know that, in traditional way, how it is. And now things are changing. It's not very important, but it's just for your information. So as I say, compassion is a lot of things. Really, part of the compassion is feeling, the part of compassion is thinking, and part of compassion is understanding, and yeah, um, and is mostly, the compassion is mostly known as wishful thoughts, that you have for the others, right? So we must understand, we must understand, if compassion is just an emotion, right? If compassion just empathy, let's say, if compassion is just a feeling, yeah, then this so-called compassion will not be able to help us to deal with all those mental insecurities, because that's not the the strength, the emotions aspect of compassion, the feeling aspect of compassion is not the quality that allows us to face all of these ordeals in our life, but that understanding is the real weapon, the real value in that compassion. That understanding. I'm not talking about wisdom. I'm talking about understanding, right? So, that's why we must understand that compassion is not just a feeling. It's not just empathy or sympathy, right? Of course, it's not a pity, of course. And yeah, it's a basically compassion is understanding, and that understanding makes compassion a very powerful tool to deal with all these mental insecurities or ordeals. So that's why I'm trying to emphasize more on compassion. Is wishing to jump into action. Compassion is not only a empathy, which is more of the emotion side. So that's why these days a lot of people actually think of uh, the compassion as a emotion, compassion as a empathy, but it's not really like that. Um, the reason why I say that the compassion, if it's just a mere emotion, right? If compassion is solely an emotion, or let's say empathy, it doesn't provide us a strength to face all these um, mental distress and disturbance. Is why why I say that. Now this is the one reason we need to understand, because we can understand in terms of experience that if compassion is just emotion, if it's just empathy, yeah, then it really cannot cannot allow us to face a lot of ordeals, emotional ordeals. Is because in terms of experience, um, in terms of experience, when you care for other, you know, when you care for other people, involves primarily emotions or feeling rather than the seeking solution, right? As I say, let me rephrase it. Uh, if compassion is just emotion, if compassion is just empathy rather than understanding or seeking solution, it can be very exhausting. Yeah, it can be very exhausting. It's shown in brain mapping that scientists did many times. It says that when you really has to um, when you really have to deal with the emotion itself, it can be very exhausting. That's what it says. But when it comes to compassion, it's not the case, because compassion is not just an emotion, it's the understanding, right? For example, the basic understanding, we can talk about compassion is that I want to be happy, likewise everybody else, right? I want to be happy, so it is the same thing for other people as well. Other people also want to be happy. So even this understanding can really help you to face a lot of issues in your life. The understanding itself, because the if what you have right now in you when you really practice compassion, if it's just an emotion, if it's just empathy, what we are really trying to do is just we are focusing on the emotion. We're just fostering emotion. We are just allowing that emotion to grow within you. And when the scientists say that, the brain mapping things say that when you really uh, foster emotions alone, right, it can be very exhausting, because when it comes to emotion, what it does is just it basically spend time thinking on the suffering and the feelings, because that's what emotion does. And when it comes to the compassion, basically the feeling that we are dealing with is like uh, it's like people suffering, people distress, people stress, people's insecurity. When you really focus on those things instead of seeking solution or trying to understand what is really happening, yeah, it can be very exhausting. Yeah. And yeah, and compassion is at least in terms of uh, wishful thoughts, it is willing to see positive changes in other people's life or other people's condition. And in terms of thinking, it is a solution oriented based on a lot of understanding. Yeah, so as I let me rephrase it again. Compassion, right? In terms of wishful thought, I say that part of compassion is also a wishful thought. So in terms of wishful thought, compassion is willing to see positive changes in other people's life or other people's condition. And in terms of thinking, compassion is very solution oriented based, oriented based on a lot of understanding. And when I say understanding, it can be a lot of understanding. For example, like right now, I just say, I want to be happy. Yeah, then this is the reason. This can also be a reason why other people also want to be happy, because everybody want to be happy, right? So when we have this kind of understanding, yeah, that's what makes the compassion a very uh, powerful tool. The understanding, the aspect of the understanding is very important. Um, and it's also very, I feel it's also very important to, maybe it's just it might just be my like very narrow thought, But sometimes, I really don't blame those people who say, "Oh, I don't care about anyone," because the more you care about others, the more you get hurt. That's what a lot of people says, right? And yeah, it made me think a lot. And yeah, and as as a conclusion, I think it is because it's very difficult to make a distinction between you know this distinction between a compassion and or a care that you have of that you have for other people, that makes you hurt, makes you suffer, right? Distinction between the compassion and the thing that really make you hurt. And that's why people say, "Oh, I don't care about anyone else," because the more you care, the more you gonna get hurt. Yeah, and sometimes I really don't blame them, because yeah, it is very difficult to draw a line between why compassion doesn't make you hurt and what is the real thing that makes you hurt or makes you feel painful, right? Makes you feel pain. The truth is that it is not because you care about that people that makes you suffer, but it is a lack of understanding. Yeah, this is, I think, very important. Then people might not blame the compassion and love and care that we have for other people. It is not the compassion, because if it's a compassion, then it should be the understanding that hurts you, but it is not the understanding that hurts you. What really hurts you is the lack of understanding, which is a lack of main aspect of compassion. uh, Maybe, perhaps, right, it is very normal to have expectation, right? When you care about other people, when you do something good for other people, and maybe it's very normal to maybe it's a very norm to have certain expectation from that person. But according to Buddhism, having expectation is not a wise choice. That's the lack of understanding. That's why you're expecting thing from that person. As soon as you expect something from other people as a reciprocal gesture, then you have lack of understanding, because there's no guarantee that there will be any sort of like a positive gesture in return for your care and love that you have for that person. And also, as soon as you have this expectation, what you really trying to do is you're just gambling. You are just pushing yourself to get hurt. That's what you are doing, right? Because you have the expectation, which is not a very wise choice according to Buddhist text. So there is a saying, I like that saying, wisdom. Let's say, don't say wisdom. Let's say understanding. And understanding without love, right? Understanding without love can be very destructive. Really, that's what we are seeing. That's what we are, witnessing now in this world, right? There are so many great people. There are so many smart, genius people, but when they are lack of um, um, when they are lack of love, when they are lack of care, when they are lack of compassion, what they do, is a very destructive, right? Understanding without love, right, can be very destructive. And love without wisdom, right? Love without wisdom, the love can make you vulnerable. Yeah, because there's no understanding. What you are doing is because, as we say, like wisdom or understanding is like an eye. When you don't have an eye, what you are doing is you are just blindly following something without seeing what is in front of you, what is what you are doing, what kind of potential that you are, what kind of potential that the action that you are doing right now, it had a lot of potential to, make you suffer, right? So that's why the wisdom or understanding without love can be very destructive, and without wisdom, love can make you very vulnerable, and that's exactly happening in this time. That's why people are actually, blaming, you know, being warm, being careful, being compassionate, being loving, because they think it's the compassion, it's the love, it's the care that, makes them unhappy, makes them hurt, makes them vulnerable, but it is not. It's because of lack of understanding. That, lack of understanding, the wisdom, or no, the love, or the emotion, positive emotions, even, yeah, positive, of course, positive emotion without understanding makes you very vulnerable. Because, as I say, it might be very normal to have expectation when you do something, good or wholesome for other people, but, you know is not a wise choice. Usually, what really happens when we do something good for other people, we want to be acknowledged. We want to have some sort of uh, reciprocal gesture. Like, thank you very much. I'm very grateful to you. I owe you something. But that's not a wise choice, because basically, when you have expectation, you are one step closer to get hurt. That's why it hurt. It's not the compassion that makes you hurt. It's the lack of understanding, which is, right, making you feel hurt. It's very important, really. This is something, because nothing hurts me more when people have this kind of misunderstanding, and try to blame things that is actually, supposed to help them, supposed to practice in their daily life. And anyway, uh, the world is getting, smaller, as I say, due to technology development. But uh, this world is getting more complicated, and especially human being, right? We are so complex now, really, due to this all technology, um, arising, um, advanced technology. So many, cultures are brought together. So many races, so many values, different values are brought together. But because of lack of understanding, we are struggling to coexist, really. We are struggling so much to coexist. Even these small, even these, like, so even these, our colors of our skin, it's making so much fuss, all these, especially these days, the pronoun, like, some of them cannot be addressed as him or her, but them and they, and what zir and this and zer. There are so many different pronouns, and it is really getting, complex, especially human being. Yeah, it is getting really complex. Yeah, and mm, we are struggling to coexist, and the reason why is because of, lack of understanding. And please don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying, the emotional aspect of the compassion is not important. I'm not saying this at all. It is very important, because you know why? I would say ultimately, the core value of the compassion is always the understanding, right? But the emotion is emotion, is also equally important as the understanding, because right now in this time, right, in our workplace, in our, home, in our community, in our neighborhood, what we are lacking is, you know to feel warm, right, to feel safe, which is an emotion, which is a feeling. This is what we are lacking, right? So the reason why I say that the emotional aspect of the compassion is equally important as the aspect of the understanding is because we as a beginner, right? We as a beginner, that's how we generate that. That's how we generate the compassion. That's how we practice compassion because we want to see people happy. We don't. We really cannot face people, you know, suffering so much, right? And there is some sort of like emergence feeling that wanted to save them, and that part is very important because we don't have that, right? Because of lacking of this emotional aspect in our life, we are not even trying to understand. That's the reason why I'm saying emotional aspect of compassion is as important as the understanding is because we are not even trying to understand. Really, if we understand other people, we'll be totally okay. Really, right? We would totally be okay if there is understanding. Of course, I understand you are young. You need to spoke apart sometime. I understand that's okay, right? But no, understanding it also takes a time. It takes time. It takes some practice, to have that kind of understanding in our life. So what we really need to do is to try, isn't it? To try understand other people, and that requires an emotional aspect of compassion. So that's why, um, like, um, that's why, like people these days, um, like people really these days, human beings, so many really, they don't even acknowledge. They don't even want to make any acknowledgement that they might have make some mistake. Really, there's a very big um, indicator, you know, a lack of trying to understand other people. Really, or trying to make other people understand you. Really, we don't really acknowledge. We really don't want to admit, our own fault. We don't really try to admit that, I might have made a mistake, right? So for beginner, like us, the beginner, how does the beginner compassion practitioner, people like us, it is the emotional aspect of compassion is very important because we need to try to understand, isn't it? That's what we are lacking, I guess, in this time. Really, we really need to try to understand. We don't these days. If you look at people, we really don't want to listen to people's issue. As soon as people start talking to you, right, you will just be so ready to start, to take your turn. Like, let me give me some my time, so I can speak to you about what I have done, how great my day was. It was better than you, all those things. So basically, it's an expression of not trying to understand other people's issues. Yeah. So really, the emotional aspect of the compassion is very important. So far so far I'm not very good at just speaking all alone, because it just I don't have that a good ability to keep things in order. But so far what I'm trying to say is that the main point is that compassion is not just an emotion, it's not just a wishful thought. It's a combination of understanding, emotion, feeling, and wishful thought. And the core, uh, the greatest the weapon, the greatest value, core value of the compassion is the understanding. That's what we are trying to achieve. But we, as a beginner, the emotion aspect of the compassion is as important as the understanding, because we, as a beginner, we need to try to understand, right? We need to try to understand, and understand is two different things, right? So we need to try to understand, and that requires the emotional aspect of compassion, because we want to, right? We want to solve your, we want to, how to say, make you feel that you are not all alone. I'm there for you. The care. So really, these are the things that it's very important to really try to understand people. This is the thing that we are lacking in this time. Really, these days, people, like, I'm not saying people is like, oh, I'm not one of them. Of course, I'm one of them. Really, usually, yeah, I'm okay, but every people, everyone, we have our own weakness. Then when that weakness, is triggered, yeah, then yeah, we don't want to try to understand other people. Then that alone understanding, it will never happen. So yes, to so that's why emotional aspect and understanding is very important, and we should understand compassion is not just one aspect. They have a lot of aspect. For example, I can give you example. Let's say when I was young, I like animal very much. Maybe you can say aspect, except the monkey. Monkey I really don't like so much. We like monkey and I, we have some sort of history. So yeah, you can say, of course, it's not that I hate monkey, but when it comes to that love that I have for other animal, it's very much higher, compared to monkey love that I have, the feeling that I have for monkey. So let's say, uh, I really love animals really, in general. I really love very much, and that's why when I was young, as soon as I get any opportunity, to visit zoo, I would go to zoo all the time. See monkey, see those, like cute animals, like not only like tigers, all those things. I really love so much. I'm big fan of dogs, cats, especially the dog called the dog breed called corgi, and the Shiba Inu. Those are like my favorite. I would just like jokingly I can say I might even kill to have corgi and Shiba. Really, like I really love, and so that's why I go to zoo, because why I love, isn't it? I love animal. That's why I go to zoo. That's the expression of my love, going to zoo. Pay money, go to zoo, spend some time, look around, enjoy. That's the expression. That's how I express my love that I have for animals. And one of this, the expression, right? But once I grow older and I become a vegetarian, and alone that gradually I understand that, oh, those animal in the zoo, they are trapped basically. They don't have any freedom. They are actually suffering, and we as a zoo goers, we are funding that suffering, the existence for those trapped animal in the zoo, right? So I thought, no, I really cannot support this kind of thing. Really, I really cannot support this zoo thing. So when I have that understanding that I am indirectly or even directly hurting those animals, contributing, like making contribution to make them suffer, make them trapped in those small cage. I stopped going to zoo, right? Because why? I love animal. That's why. When I was young, I go to zoo because I love. Now I don't go to zoo. Why? Because I love. And why it happens is because of that understanding, right? Yeah. So so when there was a emotional aspect of the compassion and love, and now there's the understanding aspect of the compassion and love. And yeah, even though I don't get to see animals in zoo, it doesn't hurt me, as long as they are happy, as long as they are having like, how to say, as long as I'm not contributing, making any contribution to their suffering, I should be okay. I should not be unhappy for not being able to see them, right? So these are the, like, there's a gradual growth in compassion. So it takes time. Yeah, so Yeah, few days ago I was watching some the clips, the video YouTube clips, and there was like there was like some young kids, and I think it was some sort of like um, mm, some sort of like, how to say that, public test. What do you call it? Public test? I don't know. It was like a test, where they they bring a fish right on the table, and they cut them open and they cook and they feed, right? And I think it's just some sort of like a mm, test or something, like, so when they cut, I think that fish was actually dead, but when they cut, when they take out all the the inner, the part of the body of a fish, those young kids were basically crying. Oh, like they were actually crying. It's not just an act. They were crying because it's very horrific, because we as a human being, we have this kind of, compassion, you know, built in us, right? So they were crying. They were crying all this thing. And after, after a few minutes, they cooked and it was like delicious. And they were eating, right? And they were smiling and laughing, and they were so happy. And one of those kids say, "Oh, I love fish very much." So this is what happening really. You don't really love fish. That's what I thought at that moment. You don't love fish. You are actually hurting the fish. How can this be a love? Of course, I understand. I'm not like losing any of my shit. I'm not trying to like. I was not pissed because I basically understand they are just a kid. How could I expect this kind of thing? But this is really happening. People just don't. Like we as a human being, we have so many. So we don't understand so many things. This is not love, right? Yeah. So for those kids, this is one of their lack of understanding. But of course, I'm not saying I don't have any lack of understanding. Of course, I have millions of lacking of understanding. But it is important to understand what is the understanding that I am lacking, right? To understand that you don't understand is also understanding anyway. So so these are, like, when you talk about compassion and love, we have a lot of misunderstanding. That's why I'm trying to help you guys, like, mm, understand the definition of compassion, like what is compassion. And and the irony right now, with even with all these social medias, really, we isolate ourselves more than ever. We suffer loneliness more than ever. And I even saw that loneliness is almost like becoming epidemic now. Really, I think so. I have so many friends that are suffering from loneliness. Then I've also a friend that I know that suffer from loneliness for many years, and I was also one of them when I was young. Really young lah. When I was young, of course, things happen anyway. But yeah, and now loneliness is becoming an epidemic now. That's what I saw. That's what they're, this uh, I saw in internet. Even though it might not be very accurate, but I think, because even from my own experience, many people, really many people I've met, they really suffer from loneliness. It doesn't seem like when you get time to spend with these people, right? Really, you can understand that they really did suffer from loneliness, and it's they were even saying it's sort of like a epidemic now. I really believe so. And a few days back, I was like walking to my school, and I saw that I saw the poster. It says that loneliness impacts, right, as equals to 15 cigarettes per day on our body, and which is worse than obesity, right? So that's why I'm saying, compassion, love, compassion, love and compassion, it's very, very much needed in this time, Because why? This time is loneliness is at the peak, right? So that's why when it comes to dealing with loneliness, compassion is most powerful tool. Yes, because the compassion encourage us, encourage you to step out of your comfort zone. Really, compassion, as I say, the emotional aspect, and it kicks out the wishful thought. It kicks out a feeling, and it also like ignites the feelings, wishful thought for other people. Then you kind of get a inspiration or a motivation to do something about it. And there's like if you study, if you practice, then there's a if you experience a lot of things, right, in the process, then there's an understanding which allows us, which gives us the encourage to step out of our own comfort zone and help other people, and also help and encourage us to build a social connection. That's why the reason why we suffer from loneliness is because lack of social connection is very obvious, to be honest, right? And and compassion is what allows us, the loving love and compassion is what allows us to make the social connection, to be connected with people, fellow human being, right? Mm, for example, when it comes to like our parents, right? um like there are two types of parents, for my, like let's say in terms of my parents, right? My mother is very like she's very emotional oriented, a parent. And my dad is more like, it's okay as long as as long as not it is not worse, should be okay, be happy about it, like be in more trying to understand, and understanding oriented a person and a parent. So, and I will see like two huge difference in my parents is that my mom doesn't really, of course, doesn't really think that, oh, I'm talking too much, maybe he might hate me, my son might hate me, maybe my son might misunderstand me. No, she doesn't have that kind of thought. You know why? Because she's very emotional. It because of the emotion, that because of the love and care that she had for her kids. That's why she doesn't really fear or even feel insecure to give us so much advice. Trying to remind us so often, trying to it almost reach the point of like nagging, to be honest. And why she doesn't have this kind of fear or feel insecure is because she has encourage she has the courage, that the emotion aspect of the compassion is actually encouraging her, giving her courage. It doesn't matter he hates me or hates me, he loves me or loves me, I will make sure he hear, I'm heard. He should things that he should know about what other people think about your kid, right? About you, a son, right? So so when we have this kind of emotional aspect of compassion, really it encourages us, it gives us the courage to step ourselves from our own comfort, like comfort zone. That's why people are actually, they think, oh, even these days, the young generation, like these kids, they don't even like dare to. Some of them even feel like, of course, they don't even feel safe just looking at their own screen, the computer screen, because of bullying, all those stuff, right? Yeah. So the the thing is that the emotional part, that trying to do, encourage us, give us the courage. That's what compassion does. That's what compassion does for us. That's the power of emotional aspect of the compassion, that allows us to step out of comfort zone. These days kids, really, they just take, the people, if when they feel safe only in their room, they will just stay in the room and do nothing. And there are some kids, they don't go out and do social, especially it is uh, the numbers are very high amongst young women, especially, right? It's because they don't have that kind of compassion. And of course, I'm not saying they are like very evil or inconsiderate, or lack of compassion, but no, it's not really like that. Yeah, it's just lack of like compassion. If I say, if you have that compassion, if you have that part of compassion, it allows you, it encourages you to step out of our comfort zone and make connection. Social connection is what's important. The social connection, it's what makes us feel alive. That's what makes us feel happy. That is what makes us feel more satisfied. And that can be provided by the compassion. Yeah. And yeah, the irony is that with all these social medias platforms, so convenient transportation, sometimes I do even think, like, how do you even manage to feel loneliness? It's something like, sometimes I envy. Of course, it's just for because uh, it just happened like that. But of course, I know why. Of course, because I was also was one of them, who really suffer from feeling very lonely, really. And yeah, even with all those social medias, like on phone, you have everything basically. So sometimes it's more like these days, the world is so irony. It's like paying more to get less. To be honest, you have all those things, but what you are getting is less and less, right? Uh, yeah. So that's why emotional aspect of the compassion is very important, because we need to understand that without care and sense of love in you, just having conversation doesn't mean a social connection. It doesn't mean that we are building a social connection with anyone without the feeling, without the emotions. Just a conversation will not do anything at all. It will not make the connection. it, that's just in a dead conversation, right? Yeah. So that's where that is the feeling of a loneliness with a room full of people. That's what when it happens, when there is no connection. Yeah. So without positive emotions, there is no connection, and without connection, you feel lonely, you suffer from loneliness, and that's where you stuck. That's where you feel very insecure, and because of insecurities, then yeah, there's a lot of, like, because you feel insecure, because you don't feel secure, then we crave, or we expect things from other people, right? Or I want him to say I love you more, right? Even sometime I love you is not enough sometime, right? Your lover even wants you to say I love you more and I love you most. It's because maybe, of course, yeah, it's not same for everybody, but in most cases, yeah, that's what happens. So anyway, I think I'm just like talking too much, and I thought, mm, my time is like 9 o'clock, but to be honest, anyway, so now, okay, let me try to make it very short. Is that now second, okay, I think this is also very important, right? And one thing we need to understand is that cause and effect, um, right? That compassion is a cause, right? and the happiness, right, is a effect, is a result. And that can, the relationship between the happiness, between the compassion and happiness, the relationship of, how to say, cause and effect between compassion and happiness is very obvious. We need to know. It's very obvious. Maybe we just know, but maybe we know, but we were not able to acknowledge it. So it is very important that we acknowledge it. Okay, so just wait. Mm, um, so right. Mm, so that's why, right? It's very obvious. The if you are more compassionate, then the chances of you to be happy is higher. It's very obvious, but 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 because when we talk about compassion, we are talking about two parties, right? The one who extend the compassion, and the another one who receive the compassion, right? So receiving end of compassion, of course they feel happy. Yeah, I understand that. I'm always one of those human being that is always at the receiving end of the compassion. Of course, people are so nice to me. My parents, my friends, I travel, they pay. I stay, they pay. I need, they pay. It's just, it's, of course, everybody knows that. When you are at the receiving end of the compassion, of course, you feel happy. Of course, you get things, right? People give you attention. People say, oh, even though you are so, yeah, like overweight, people say, oh, you're just fine, maybe even better. This is just perfect, and all of those things, right? So it makes you feel better. Of course, when you are the receiving end of the compassion, of course, but right. So receiving end of the compassion, it makes you feel safe. You are seen by others. You are acknowledged, you are cared, right? So receiver of the compassion, it's obvious that you know he's happy. The chances for that person to be happy is very high, right? But how about the giver side? We need to understand, because it is tough. That's why I already mentioned about the understanding aspect. That's why when it comes to the receiver, or the no not receiver, the how to say, the giver side of the compassion, right? The understanding is very important. So how come the person who is compassionate uh, uh, has the high chances to be happy, right? So it's because it's quite hard to understand, because that person has to open the heart for other people's problem, right? Because it's more like a taking on additional problems, taking on additional other people's problem, not my problem, other people's problem, because that person is suffering, right? I was just sipping like a cocktail or mocktail somewhere in beach, enjoying my life, being peaceful, and somehow I saw a very poor kid and asking me to give him some money. He's hungry. He doesn't have a money. He doesn't have a parents. He's all those things happens. Then yes. So basically, you are like the person, the giver side, is taking on additional other people's problem, right? Yes. And if I am stuck at that moment with my emotional aspect of my compassion, yes, initially that compassion might involve me with some distress. Obviously, he's very sure about that, really. And that is also the aspect of the compassion, right? It's also aspect of the compassion, but it happens. But that's not the complete compassion, because when we really want to understand what is compassion, is the whole. We need to understand the whole package, so we won't blame the compassion. It's just just a partial of the compassion, which is the empathy at that moment, because when we are empathetic, what we really try to do is that I've been there, brother, I've been there, brother. I know how you're feeling. It was tough, right? So what we are doing is just you're just trying to be there with that person and share the trying to understand, trying to share the suffering, isn't it? You are not alone. I was there because basically we are focusing on the problem, right? And yeah, so empathy and emotion is something really that focus on the feelings, focus on the suffering. So that's why if you are just stuck with the emotional part, yeah, you will initially you will involve with some distress. Now, but as a giver, as I already mentioned before, that giver it courage. The reason why giver, the side of the compassion, will be happier is because the courage. It encourages us, it pushes us to do something about our life, and it allows us to, it gives us the courage to, make a social connection. Those are the reason why we, the giver part, the person who really practice the compassion has a higher chances to, have a happiness, to be happy. And one thing that we should understand is that um, mm, um, there's also, I think, I couldn't remember. There was one like a social test, where there were so many there were so many kids. There were so many kids. It's not exactly a kids. Maybe they were like 15, 16 years old. Maybe I don't know. Should I address them kid or like young people? And all of them were giving the same amount of money, and they separated these kids into two group, and one of them were supposed to like spend those money for themselves, buy themselves a treat themselves. The another group is assigned to help other people, right? And after all those assignments were done, and when they did a when they see who were which group of the kids were more happier, more joyful, when they do this kind of test, they see that the person, those group of kids who actually who was out there helping other people, have were more emotionally energetic and more joyful and more happy. Yeah, and this is something that I've saw, as a test done by some sort of like school or university. I think it's also very true because I, as I said, I'm always most of the time, really most of the time, I'm always, at the end of the uh, receiving end of the compassion, really. But of course, I feel happy when people give me the attention, people give me things, people give me love. Of course, I'm happy, but it's not like that all the time, because sometimes I also get to live a, a very normal life, especially now. I'm in Taiwan, I'm studying, I'm going to school, I'm trying to live a very normal life now, not only as this kind of life, but I go to school, see walk in the street and see people, very poor people, very people that are in need. I always give them, like try to be helpful for them. And whenever I try to really help it, in terms of financially, in terms of moving things, right, in terms of there are so many poor people, they really need to carry, you know especially poor and old people. Really, when they need to when they need things to be moved, I'll just go there and help them. And when they're trying to sell those things, yeah, I try to buy them, give some money, all those things. When I do this kind of thing, really trust me, I'm not saying, because I'm saying this out of my own experience, right? It feels much better than the happiness when I receive things from other people. Trust me on this. It is from my own experience. Yeah, so this is also one part of like joy that you feel, that when you really uh, are at the end of the uh, giving, end of the compassion, really. Hmm. And as I say, the most important thing is that um, when you look around, the people who are more happy about their life, the people, the fellow human being more, who are more happier, who are more satisfied about their life, right? Are, you can say, like 90%, 95% of those people are who really who are really satisfied with the human connection, the relationship that they had with a fellow human being. Those are uh, the one who is more happy about their life, because they have a proper positive connection with fellow human being. Those are more happier, really. And you can do the test. Really, it's very obvious. The people who are so unsatisfied about their life, so unhappy about their life, basically they have a very bad relationship with fellow human beings, in workplace, in home, in neighborhood, in community, right? All those things. Because why? Because we, as a human being, we are human being, but we are also a social, animal, right? We need to be socializing with people. But of course, some teachers, some great masters, they really don't need all those things just to be happy, of course. But when it comes to the normal human being, we really need a human connection, a positive human connection. And when it comes to positive human connection, compassion is the most important tool. And when we don't have that kind of compassion, we don't have the encourage, to go out there and do something about, other people and about yourself. And when it happens, right, when you really cannot do all those things, then you feel alienated, you feel left out, and you gradually lose more courage. You will lose all the courage, to be honest. And yeah, you will feel lonely, and you might as well just smoke 15 cigarettes a day. Yes, so this is happening, really. And when I talk about loneliness so much, to be honest, loneliness is just a surface of our experience, to be honest. It's not the whole package, especially when you talk about loneliness. The reason why there's a loneliness, there are so many mental elements that are happening in our mind, in our brain, in our body, that allows, that makes us, suffer from loneliness. Basically, there are so many mental insecurities, expectation, um, not being able to, how to say, connect with people, the uh, the this, the insecurity, like you feel insecure. Oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not. Maybe they don't like me. Maybe I'm so dislikable. Maybe I did something wrong, even though you didn't do anything wrong. Even you are just doing very normal, but you feel so, like uh, feel so like shortcoming, like you're not doing enough. So why all these emotions, those all these mental insecurities, really there are so many things, and we can talk about this later, right? Maybe next time. So all of these mental state, there's like so many underlying elements, mental elements, that allows the loneliness. So we need to understand that loneliness, if you really want to attack the loneliness, we need to deal with it, deal with the causes and condition that allows the loneliness. And that can be done by compassion. Anyway, um, And also maybe I think this is the last thing maybe I should talk, like so just having understanding, wishful thought and emotion is also not it's not also enough, to be honest. If you really want to practice compassion, then there has to be a, how to say, mm, now you have a proper understanding, like what now you have a proper compassion. Now what you really need is the value, the morality, the principle, right? Principle, really. You have all this compassion, right? You practice, the compassion. Now what you really need is a principle. Just have staying there. I understand. Oh, of course, I'm fine. I don't need to do anything. I don't suffer. Of course they suffer because they're blah blah blah. Oh, blah blah blah. All those things. But now, if you really want to extend your practice of compassion, now what is important is the principle, right? How do you care? Uh, how do you care those fellow human being which is in front of you? Now this is more important, really. Now there are so many people. I want to clean whole world. I want to take care of all the like what global, um, what warm global warming is it? Or I need to like reduce all those plastic pollution, all those stuff. But in their own room, so many plastic. I don't even make make my own bed. So many bunch of plastic, all so much waste, all those things. You cannot do keep your own. I cannot keep my own room clean, and I'm thinking of all those blah blah. All this is it's just like some sort of like a bullshit, right? So that's why when it comes to the principle of compassion, the first thing, the least thing, as I said before, at least thing what we really need to practice is how do you treat the person who is right in front of you. In this case, your family, your friend, yes, and how you should treat them, as I say, it also based on understanding how you wanted to be treated yourself, isn't it? How do you, how do I like to be treated by other people? Yeah, I should treat them equally because, right? Everybody wants happiness. It's not just me. So when it comes to the compassion, just thought is not enough, to be honest, right? Especially, I'm not talking about the compassion because when you talk about the compassion, we don't have, we don't need to have allegiance, to any religion, because compassion is something that we were born with. Without compassion, we would never survive. Compassion, we were here because of the compassion of our own parents, our loved one, right? So compassion is something, a common ground for all those religious people and non-religious people, you know, and um, human and not human. Everybody, animals, and everybody want to be happy. A common ground, right? And yeah, people say that's why even now these days, right? Scientists, they are actually trying. They are some, in certain way they are agreeing that compassion, yeah, can be a nature of human being. Compassion is one of the a quality of human being. Yeah, now, because back then, maybe let's say a few decades ago, most of the scientists, they were saying compassion is not the, um, how to say, um, compassion is not the main, should I say mainstream quality, like a lot of like scientists, they say compassion is not uh, the nature of you know um, a human being. you know Human being as a nature, human being as a nature are always in like human beings behavior is always based on some sort of pursuit of self-interest. Yes. That's what they say. Human beings are profit maximizer. That's what they said before. But now there have been so many uh, studies, and lots of papers has been done in different schools, in different university, and different groups about mindfulness, compassion. Now, there are people and lots of, even those scientists, they are saying, yeah, there's a high chance that compassion could be the very, influential view of human nature. Yeah, it could be. So finally, I think I talked too much. I'm very sorry. I thought, like, I don't know. There are so many things that we should discuss, right? But maybe next time, maybe it's a good sign that I should keep some for next time, right? So yeah, that's about it. So so yeah, if there's any question, I would like to answer, and maybe we can do 2 minutes of this meditation. But I would say, maybe we can divide, separate, like two. We can meditate like 2 minutes, right? In two different type of meditation. First, it is always very important. It doesn't matter what kind of meditation or what kind of practice you are doing. It is very important to be aware, really, to be aware, to be mindful. Is very important, because that's the core nature of meditation. So that's for this, maybe 1 minute, right? We will do a breathing meditation, where we breathe in and out, where we take a long breath in from our nose, and, take a long breath out from our mouth. And in the process of breathing in and out, please concentrate on the breath. Try to focus on the breath itself, and just for 1 minute. And after that, yeah, we will do another meditation. So for 1 minute, okay? So please constantly focus on your breath. Take a long breath in using your nose, and maybe you can just hold your breath for maybe 3 seconds, then release it, through your mouth, and the focus is on your breath. Okay, we start now. Thank you. Then after that, the second thing is that please think of, maybe for 30 seconds, think of, what you really want to do for yourself, what you really want in your life. Trying to, have some imagination and try to visualize what you really wanted in your life, right? Maybe for 30 seconds, you spend some time for 30 seconds, you spend 30 seconds to think what you really want for yourself in life, what you really wanted to be, what you really want to have, for 30 seconds. Okay, we start now. And now we spend 30 seconds more thinking of what you really want to do for, let's say, for other people. Or maybe if you can, think of what you really can contribute to this whole world, to this planet. We start now. Yes, thank you very much. I think it should be enough. The reason why I said, um, what, for me, it's not only for me, for everybody. The visualization is very important. If you really want to manifest something in your life, first, it always has to happen in your mind, really. All those great technologies, all those great people, human beings, they actually happen first in their head, in their mind. They visualize first, and they manifest later in your life. So whatever you want to do in your life, right? It is very important that you have to visualize first. You have the idea about what you really want to do in your life, what you really want to do for other people, or even for this whole planet. So it's very important that you visualize first, and it is something that we should do all the time, especially before you wake up and before you go to bed. It's something that we really have to visualize. Then it will manifest in your life, and all of those things, the visualization and the manifestation is very important. Is because it's important, and it has to always based on the motivation, which is the compassion. You know, um, so I hope that for me, no, for sorry, because the compassion, when you talk about compassion, as I say, just having, oh, I'm happy, I'm okay, I'm not hurting anyone, like I'm letting people live their life, I'm not, like bugging anyone. It's not enough, to be honest. A lot of people say the the goal of my life is to be happy. Maybe it's very true. It's very, it depends. It differs to, the individuals, what they want to do in your life. But for me, I always believe, the peace of your mind, because happiness, the term is like so overrated. To be honest, it's very confusing now. What is happiness? But when it comes to, you know, uh, the peace of the mind, when it comes to the peace of your mind, right, it's something that you really should not take it as your aim. It's something that you should have every day in your life, every day. Really, I think you should not set it as your target. It's something, your peace, you know, uh, you know, peaceful state of mind. It's something that we should have all the time, right? Then after that, we should practice and yeah, and help. That's the purpose of compassion. Help other beings. Sorry, I talk too much. And thank you very much for being with me and bearing all my this boring long talk. And thank you very much. I hope we can do it next time again.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Very meaningful and inspiring Dharma talk, and plus some very short and powerful meditation as well. Thank you, Rinpoche.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then, Samisha, I think there's some question from the audience.
Yes. Brother Chong, can we please have the question? Yes. So there is one question from Solar Meditation. He wants to know, how do we encourage others to start their journey of great compassion and spread it?
Nice question. Uh, you know, I'm also a very strong believer. Really, I'm a very strong believer that even when we even as a kid, right? Even a kid, they basically, as long as we don't understand anything, we are basically kid. We are basically a kid in that field, really. If you know how to make aeroplane, right, then it's easy. If you don't know how to make aeroplane, right, in that field, we are just a kid. We are just, very ignorant little kid, right? So, um, so, and if you look at kid, how they learn is they copy, right? They were shown example as by their parents. Parents read the book, and kid also come along and try to read the book, even though they have no idea what is written in that book, right? Those 1 2 years old kid, right? So this is important. What we need to show them the example. This is the like strongest and most influential way of teaching other people, encouraging people, because you need to step up and show them the example. That's how it is done. Really, in our school, right, in a lot of monasteries and school, those teachers themselves come down to the communal kitchen and come down, walk down to those, have a lunch and dinner with those students together, and they don't really need to say anything. Those teachers, they would just go there and broom, sweeping the floor. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to say anything. You just do the things. People come and copy you, right? Some of those great masters, they does this. They set an example. They don't go saying, oh, you watch this, you blah blah, all those things. No, they go there and do themselves, and that's how those people follow. Really, you need to set an example. That's it.
I think we have one more question, Brother Tom. So yes, the second question is from Lie In. When you hate someone that you loved previously and still love her or him as your family, but be near her or him, give your give you more stress.
More stress. Yes, it's very true.
What
What you
can
can
you do? Yeah.
mm, um, as as um, as I as I believe in this part, right? It is very important that we understand, what is your ability, really. In especially, when I meet those young practitioners, young Buddhists, they always talk about, because they listen about this uh, compassion, love, for immeasurable practices, and they always think, oh, they should do something for the world. They should, like help other people, but that's not how it starts, really. That's not how it starts. How it starts, it starts from you. You need to help yourself. There's a thing called self-love, self-compassion, really. You really need to control yourself first. Then, along the way, you can help other people. If you really are not in control of your emotions, it's very, very hard to help other people. And sometimes it is also very important to let go of it, really, and tell the person that, really, I really cannot help you, right? I did my best, but if you don't, if you really don't try best from your side, right? What I can do is just assist. And if that assistance, right, is not really helping you or me, then there's nothing much else you can do about it. But the only thing you can do is to have the practice, the wishful thought for that person. You pray for him. You have a wishful, may he have may she have a good life, good reason, all those things. But the second thing I would love to say is that many of these things happens, right? You feel stressed. You feel like so, uh, feel very pressured. It's why, because you take things so seriously. you know really don't take anything for, even though, like, as I say I did something very good for you, right? Let's say in a samiksha, right? I did something very good for you, and it is also very normal to think, like, it's also very normal to have expectation. Samiksha, you should ask, at least say thank you to me, right? It's very normal. Or if I say, oh, he didn't say sorry, people will say, wow, really? He is like so inconsiderate, right? They would say that because it's very norm in this our life. But when it comes to emotion, it doesn't matter, really, right? When it comes to the reality, the reality doesn't care about how you feel, isn't it? People, yeah, they might not say thank you, or they might not have any sort of like like reciprocal gesture. At that moment, you will get hurt, right? So that's why it is important that, um, you just don't take things so seriously. You just try to understand what was the ultimate goal. It is to help other people, right? Help other people. Then as long as things are done, should be happy about it. Don't stress. Why? Shantideva say, if there's anything you can do about it, you should not be unhappy. You should not stress. If there's nothing you can do about it, why you are even stressed now? Isn't it? Something like that. Sometimes the solution can be very simple, but to be simple is very hard sometimes, right? Yeah. So many times, especially here in Taiwan, people come here and uh, they say blah blah all those questions. I say don't think too much. 不要想太多. And those people really like look down on me because of this advice. This teacher, he doesn't give any like valuable teaching. He only said 不要想太多,不要想太多. And when they ask me, can I do this? Can they when they ask me, can I do this, Rinpoche? Should I do this? Should I put like two more apples or should I not two? I said, okay, everything is okay. Just do with pure motivation. Everything is okay. They even starting call me, 都可以 Rinpoche. They even give me a nickname. 都可以 Rinpoche. Like, everything is okay, Rinpoche. But to be honest, don't think too much is actually very, very valuable advice. Really, I'm not lying. Trust me on this. We have a Tibetan saying, when you think too much, all the existence will stand against you as an enemy. Nangsi darulangwa. Really, when you think too much, it's also saying in English, thoughts. If you have a healthy thoughts, it will make you healthy. If you have unhealthy thoughts, it will make you unhealthy. That's exactly what Tibetan master they were saying. If you think too much, right? Yes, it will, like make all this existence stand against you as an enemy. Really, don't think too much. Things, solution can be simple, but as I say, it is very hard to be simple sometimes.
Thank
We
you,
have
Rinpoche.
some question, Brother Sharaf.
Yes,
Shall
I
we?
have a question. Yeah, Rinpoche lah, 都可以 Rinpoche. Hey, Rinpoche, there seems like to be a generation gap between parents and their children nowadays, And then parents, especially Asian parents, they like to use the word like love and compassion and care about you as a reasons to control their children. Yeah.
Yeah,
So how should we deal with this issue? Yeah.
it's very tough, really. It's very tough. It's something that I really cannot do anything about it. I'm also the victim, one of these victims. Really, that's exactly. I'm just trying not to think too much, really, because
Uh-huh.
um, as a kid, in front of our parents, we will always remain as a kid, even though we will become 50 or 60. Really, you are my
Mhm.
kid. I'm your parents. I've seen, like, there's a Chinese saying, right? Like, I have what a salt about the salt. Like, I have
Ah,
eaten more salt than.
you eating rice, yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly what it is in their mind. To be honest, it
Mm.
really is very hard to convince your parents that whatever you are doing you know, is proper for whatever I'm doing is proper for myself. But really, it's very hard to convince parents, especially and your teachers. Oh, very hard, really, very hard. That the only thing that is that uh, the only thing as I say, if there is anything that you can do about it is like change. Either you have to change your parents or you have to change yourself. Really, it's like a job. Some people think oh, this job is not suitable for me and they quit, and there's another job is not suitable for me and they quit the job, and after all there's no any suitable job for you because you quit all this job, right? So when you think, when you really take a look back to yourself, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I should do something about it, really. Because basically, you try your best to change your parents, but they are not listening. But as I always believe, because this is also one of the issue that happens, to some of my friends, I say that it is recently, really, like I think a week ago, there was one lady, young lady, she came to me and she was saying her parents were forcing her to get married because she's already now 29, right? And she thinks, she's very happy, being alone, living a single life, because she has a freedom, she can go and drink, eat, whatever she want to do, right? It feels very peaceful, and she want to concentrate more on her career, and she feels very safe, right? Very okay. But the parents were saying, oh, now you're wasting your how to say, womanhood, right? Like, like time being, you should get married, have a kid, we need a grandchild, all of those things. And she asked me what she should to do. I say, really, your life is your choice. We really understand. Sometimes, and I say that you really have to make things clear to your parents. Make sure that your parents understand what you think about your life. This is the first thing, to make each other understand, right? Yeah, your parents, yeah, you need to let your parents know that this is your uh, this is your idea. I want to live this life. Make sure they understand about my life, your life. Let's say, your life. And if they understand, it's good. If they don't understand, there's nothing much about, it. And if you really think that you can do something, or on about yourself, then you should do. And if there's nothing much, then yeah, you have to follow your dream. Really, you have to keep doing, because all of these things I'm saying based on, you being very honest to yourself. This is a very important thing, really, you really have to be honest with yourself. You are buying an iPad because you want to do some, project, all those things, and you say those things to your parents, but basically you just want to play game on iPad, right? If you really want to do a project, then yeah, you should do anything you could do to get an iPad, and go for it, right? So yeah, it is important that you let both parties know, understand the situation. And yeah, if it is your choice, then you should follow. And if you really think it is good for your life and your future, then you should follow it. Yeah, that's what, kids. And yeah, and I'm pretty sure I'm not in the best position to give you this answer, because I'm still sort of like a victim of this situation. Maybe, one day I'll have a solution. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'll come up with an uh, I might come up with some solution. But for me right now, yeah, I'm just trying to be strong and not allow them, my parents, my supporters, my the monastery monks, my teachers, my, how to say, supporters, to how to say, make me feel emotionally weak. That's not one. That is not something that I'm giving them the right to do so. I'm just emotionally strong now. I'm doing things. That's the only thing we can do, really. To change parents and teachers are very tough.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Rinpoche.
don't. Yeah, please. Yeah, be strong.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Rinpoche. And the last question, yeah, Rinpoche. Normally we, like the Chinese Buddhists, like to recite the Dapo Shaddrung, great
Mm.
compassion.
Mm.
How to integrate the value of compassion with the practice of the Dharma? You know,
You mean the mantra?
yes, the mantra. Yeah.
Yeah, it's uh even now, there's a trend, like, um even there's now a trend in the, a lot of other countries, like, or I will not, how to say, I will not be defeated. There's a mantra, right? To encourage yourself. I will not be defeated. I will not give up. I will do anything what I can do. I'm good. I'm best. Like those
Mm,
legend, those, like, even you can say the boxers. Those Mike Tyson, and how to say, the Floyd Mayweather. All those. Whenever you look at them, there's some sort of like very vanity or emotional aspect in their life, that really, even though it's a arrogance, even though it's a hatred, even though there's, but they use those, emotion as a thing to push
mm,
forward, right? To push further, to achieve their career in their life. For
mm,
us, what we can do is to be compassionate. And when we chant those mantra, right, what we are basically trying to do is not exactly just chanting mantra, but basically understanding the qualities of, you know uh, the, how to say, Guan Yin, right?
mm,
Avalokiteshvara. So Om Mani Padme Hum is just actually the meaning. is the qualities of Avalokiteshvara. That's what we should be doing, thinking of the qualities, how they have become. That's why teachers, they always encourage us, young practitioners, to read the history of great masters. So basically, Ta Petro is all just like that. The qualities of Avalokiteshvara or Mane Peme Hung, right? So what is Mane? What is Peme? What is Lotus? There's all the, how to say, the what do you call, the what it represent, right? What represent, the how to say, money means, the how, what do you call it, whole
Jewel.
jewel, right?
The
What is the, meaning of the jewel? What is the meaning of a lotus? What is the meaning of having four hand? All those things, right? So basically, we are thinking of, qualities of our Lokiteshvara, and trying to follow, visualize them, and one day it will manifest in your life.
Okay, thank you, Rinpoche. Thank you for good answers.
No, no, I'm just, like, trying my
Rinpoche will
best.
come out more to our program and share your wisdom and knowledge to all of us. Yeah.
Sure, sure, sure. We can share. It's more like a, yeah, like a, share. It's less of a teaching, really. I don't really label my speaking, these things as a teaching. We can just learn together. Yeah,
That's
we
that's so
yeah, we
kind
can
of
use this as a discussion. Thank you very much, really. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and especially, as Sherab Wang and Samiksha and all of those, like members, they are trying to, you know raise this, how to say, the creating this platform for a lot of people, right? Especially, as you guys have mentioned, it's about for the young people. I'm really inspired. That's one of the things that I really wanted to do in my life. Really, we really need to help those young people. And when I say, as I say, when I talk about this understanding, I don't really mean wisdom. Is because we don't really need any sort of, like, allegiance to in religion. But we can raise our, awareness. Try to understand more things. Yeah, it's something that we really should do. And young people, they are smart, they are sharp, they are new, they are more, they have easy. It's not like old branch. We can still, bend it and straighten it up, right? So I think, it's very important to, have more connection with the young people and study and build more connection, and, help each other. So that's why I'm very glad, very, very glad. So yeah, if there's anything that I can do, please let me know. It would be my pleasure, really. Thank you very much.
We're so grateful
Thank
for
you.
Rinpoche for you to come
Thank
out
you
to
very
speak to us.
much.
Thank you very much. Samisha, would like to say about the upcoming events?
Yes, for sure. Before we finish the program, I would like to announce our upcoming events. So there will be one more guided meditation session by Myungan Sunim. It is entitled Taming Your Monkey Mind. Don't Let Your Thoughts Control You. It will be on 19th of March. So please do join us on this event as well. Yes, so I would like to invite Rinpoche to please recite the four great vows.
Oh, you. Okay, okay. The four great vows. The sentient beings are numberless. We vow to save them all. Delusions are endless. We vow to cut through them all. The teachings are infinite. We vow to learn them all. The Buddha ways is inconceivable. We vow to attain it. May all beings be well, happy, and safe.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Rinpoche. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Rinpoche.
Keep in touch.
Thank you. Yeah, keep in touch. We'll see you soon.